So it says here, making requests at a hotel, of course. So let's take a look at hotel departments, right? What are the different departments of a hotel? Because that helps us understand what kind of requests we can ask to those departments. So let's have a look at what kind of departments we usually interact and talk with. So the first one is, of course, housekeeping, right? Some people will say maid, yeah, like maybe room cleaning, but housekeeping is probably the most common used department nowadays. Right. The next one is this one here, which is the front desk. Yes, front desk, or you could say reception, right? Reception is okay, but most of the time I think front desk is probably the best one to use, right? So we got housekeeping, we've got the front desk, and also we've got these guys here. And probably some of you guys, of course, who are familiar with French, and I believe this originated from France, concierge, right? We would say that this department is called the concierge. Now, what does the concierge do? Well, they arrange trips, give you travel advice on the sites that you want to see. They would give you points of like maps and things like that, activities, restaurants to go to. They're very good, helpful with the surrounding area. So, how do we talk to these people? Let's have a look at this one here. So, as you can see, we've got some different ways. We can use could I and could you, right? So, let's take a look at this one. Could you? This is a request basically for the hotel staff to complete or to do, right? For example, could you tell me what time breakfast is, please? So you have to tell me, right? Because you have the information. So the hotel staff would then tell the guest, right? Anytime you want someone else to do an action or to do something, we use could you, right? The next one is could I, right? Could I? Now this means basically permission, right? I'm asking if it's okay for me to do something. So in this case, could I use your phone, please? Right? Could I use your phone, please? That's asking you permission. Is it okay? And hopefully you say, yes, of course. Here you are. Right? So that's using permission, asking for permission. Now the next one is very similar to could you, in the same sense that you're asking someone else to do something. Would you mind? And then ing. Every time we use would you mind, it's always ing. For example here, would you mind bringing me a humidifier, please? Right? Would you mind bringing me a humidifier, please? Using could I and could you and would you mind. Those are very, very, very useful. Very useful. I would say to everybody, these are some of the most important phrases for traveling, right? When you go traveling, these are incredibly important. What's the difference, right? Have a look here. What's the difference between these two? Okay, this one here. Could you tell me what time breakfast is, please? And the one at the bottom, what time is breakfast, please? What's the difference between these two? Any ideas? What do you think? And it's the same as this. Would you mind bringing me a humidifier, please? Versus, bring me a humidifier, please. What's the difference between these? So the ones in red are more polite than the ones in purple and in blue. I would say that, for me, this is my opinion, and maybe other people might disagree. I think it's important to use these for service industry. And that means restaurants, hotels, airlines, when you get a haircut, what else? Pubs, anything where you get a service. If you're polite, usually, I say usually, not always, usually you get a very good customer service experience. The worker is going to try to help you more. They're going to try to be nice to you or nicer to you because they want you to be happy. And the reason is because you were very polite and nice to them. So it's important for us to use polite English in that sense. You can say, can you? That's okay, no problem. But I think that if we use could you or would you, it just makes it sound a little bit nicer. All right. So verbs used with requests. So could you, right? Could you? What do you think are some verbs, action words that we use with could you? So, for example, could you and could I have different, sometimes different ones, sometimes the same. So, for example, could you call and then something, right? Could you call the manager, please? If you want to use that one. Could you tell? Show, right? Show is a great one, especially if we're not familiar with how something works. Could you recommend? Yes. All right. Yeah, recommend is a great one as well. Again, especially for like the concierge people. Could you get? Now, this is a little bit, I would say a little bit more casual, but you could say, could you get me something, right? That would be okay. Or could you get my passport from the safety box, please? Okay, anything like that. Could you arrange? Yeah, that's a lovely one as well. Nice. Could you give, right? Could you give me a map? Is another good one. Again, this one here, bring, as we looked at before. Could you bring? Yeah. But what about could I? Because some of them we cannot use for could I. For example, could I tell? We wouldn't really use. Could I show? Again, in this situation, we wouldn't really use. But we can use get, right? We could say, could you get or could I get is okay. Either one is perfectly fine. Could I use is another good one as well. As we looked at before, could I use your phone, right? Borrow, is another nice one as well, right? Could I borrow? Yes. We don't really say could you borrow. It's not really correct for us to use that. Could I borrow? The next one is check out, of course. I'm sure many people are familiar with that one, especially with hotels. Smoke is another good one. Asking for permission. Could I smoke in this area? Have is another good one. Could I have? And then something as well. All right, so we've got those requests. Could you and could I? Both are very, very useful in this situation, of course. Many problems that we can experience at hotels. Hopefully we don't, but sometimes we do. So just as I would say, a general example, here are some problems that we can face. I just said broken shower is one possible problem, right? A dirty room is a very, I would say, common problem, unfortunately. Another one here is noisy neighbors, right? You've got people next door who are incredibly noisy and you cannot sleep. It's very annoying indeed. All right, so as you can see, we've got some different problems at hotels. All right, so let's have a look at how to deal with a problem. And this is going to be a little bit sort of, I would say, focusing on our conversation for in just a moment. Dealing with a problem is going to be very frustrating. So, do you get angry like this guy? No, certainly not. Right? We can express it in a nicer way. So we can say there's a problem with something, right? You can say there's a problem with my room, a problem with the, and then the shower, right? Or you could say something isn't working, right? And then to go into a little bit more detail, we can look at things like when I turn it on and then something happens, or I can't do something, or the room next to me is really smelly. The room next to me is really noisy, is okay to use. So these are, I would say, great phrases for us to use when we need to express our problems to hotel staff. So now you can see the question up here. What seems to be the problem? Hotel staff will ask you, right? They will ask you, what seems to be the problem? This means, give me more information, right? And this is going to be an example of how to give more detail, right? For example, a TV problem. When I turn it on, I can see the picture, but I can't hear any sound, right? Giving a little more information. So usually we structure it as to what we do and then what happens, right? When I turn it on, this happens. I can or I can't, right? A shower problem, for example. The shower works, but the pressure is really low. So, for example, the water just drips, drips, drips. So you cannot take a shower properly. That would be so bad. Luckily, I've not experienced that, but yes. A dirty room. Now this is terrible. Yeah, people want clean rooms because they want to relax. There is still dust and rubbish left in the room from the previous guests. Right? So instead of just saying, my room is dirty, we need to give a little more information. Instead of saying, my TV is broken, or my TV doesn't work, give a little bit more information. It's very, very useful for us to actually try and, expand on our explanation. It gives them, I would say, more information for them to help us, of course. Them meaning hotel staff. Phrasal verbs that we can use at a hotel, right? And some of these we're going to look at in our conversation as well. So it'll be good for us to show you and see how they work. So the first one, send up, right? Send someone or something to your room, right? Send up. The next one is write down. Now, I think we've already covered this before, but again, it's a good one for us to use. So it means to write the information on paper. Take in means to look at something or to kind of like, really study it, and it's kind of like it could be detailed. Check in. This is, of course, when we arrive at the hotel. Check out. It means we're going to leave the hotel. So check in and check out, sure, very familiar for most people. Drop off means to leave something somewhere. The next one is pick up. It means to collect something, of course. Now, you've seen before, like in one of the examples, wake up call, right? That's a phrasal verb that we could use on a daily basis, but we can use it in hotels. Wake up call is a great thing for us to use if we need to wake up early or at a certain time. So yes, we can use those ones there. Excuse me. Yes, how can I help you? So, of course, in the blue is the guest, in the red is the hotel staff. There's a problem with the aircon in my room, right? So this is we're stating the problem. We're saying there is a problem. And then the staff member, oh, what seems to be the problem? May I have your name and room number, please? Well, when I turn the AC on, it doesn't make the room cold, and there is a funny smell coming from it. It's room 407, Mr. Smith. Now, to shorten it, AC is perfectly okay. We don't really need to say air conditioner. We can say aircon is okay. AC is perfectly fine. And also, funny smell is a good expression as well. We can say it's a strange smell or it's a weird smell. But yes, funny smell is also a great expression for us to use. I'm really sorry to hear that. I can send someone up, phrasal verb there, to your room to fix it right away. Okay, thank you, but could you change us to another room, please? So here we go. In this case, we've got us as the, of course, subject. So we have to say, could you change us to another room, please? We are pretty tired and would like to rest now. Let me see what I can do. Yes, We have a room available on the same floor. Great, thank you. Would you mind sending a bellman up to help us move our things, please? So again, sending a bellman up. Yes, of course. He'll be there in about 5 minutes. I do apologize for the trouble. Right? So that there is a model conversation. So hopefully you are familiar with this kind of conversation. Now, what I would like to do is to practice this conversation. And most of you will probably be the guests. So to start with, I would like you guys to read the blue sentences. So you will be acting as the guests. Of course, when it comes to the name, you can change the name. So you can change it, not Mr. Smith, you could use your own name, is okay. No problem at all. But yes, we have that one there. Also as well, if you want to use another problem, right? We've used here the AC. If you want to try and change it to something else, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay, so let's give it a try. Don't be afraid, practice out loud. It's one of the great ways for us to try and improve our speaking and also listening as well. So try and not worry, don't feel shy, speak out. Even if you're at home with friends or family around you, don't worry about it. It's practice. Okay, so let's give it a go. You're going first because you are the blue sentences. Okay, please start. Yes, how can I help you? You'll go. Oh, what seems to be the problem? May I have your name and room number, please? I'm really sorry to hear that. Can I send someone up to your room to fix it right away? Let me see what I can do. Yes, we have a room available on the same floor. Yes, of course. He'll be there in about 5 minutes. I do apologize for the trouble. Great. Well done. Absolutely no problem at all. Lovely stuff. Okay, so now I know that most people are not working in hotels, but even if you do have, service jobs, or even if you deal with customers, it doesn't have to be, customers that you see face to face. It could be on the telephone. It could be via email. Some of these questions will still be useful in those situations too. All right. So let's give it a try and change. Like this time, you guys will be using the red sentences and I will be using the blue ones. Okay. So you're going to be the hotel staff and I will be the guest for this one. So I'm going to start for us. Excuse me. There's a problem with the aircon in my room. You'll go. Well, when I turn the AC on, it doesn't make the room cold, and there is a funny smell coming from it. It's room 407, Mr. Smith. Okay, thank you. But could you change us to another room, please? We are pretty tired and would like to rest now. Okay? Great. Thank you. Would you mind sending a bellman up to help us move our things, please? There we go. Okay, awesome stuff. Very good. Absolutely no problem at all. Very, very well done indeed.